Could you imagine, just really seriously imagine, doing 25 years in prison for a crime that you didn't commit? You get released. You claim your innocence the whole time. And 10 years after you finally get released, they finally find out that you are innocent. Could you imagine the mental, the physical, the anguish, the... Good God, man. But we hear about this stuff quite frequently. It happens a lot more than people like to admit. So I'm going to cover this one here from NBC News and a couple other sources, but I just decided to settle on NBC News' coverage of it. It's all pretty much the same. DNA exonerates New York man who served 25 years for sexual assault, insisted he was innocent. And then after 35 years, the New York Supreme Court vacated Rafael Ruiz's conviction and dismissed all charges against him. Wow, man. Wow. How horrible is that? You know, it used to be that the philosophy was it's better that 10 guilty men go free than one innocent man spend one day in jail. It's crazy. 25 years. That's, oh my God. By the time Rafael Ruiz was released from prison, he had spent half his life there. Ruiz, now 60, was convicted of a sexual assault in 1985, sentenced to 8.5 to 25 years in prison, and served the maximum. Ruiz was released on parole in 2009, but still had the conviction hanging over him, even though he had always maintained his innocence, which ironically contributed to his long sentence. You see, that's the freaking thing with the justice system, that if he had said, yeah, I'm guilty, and even though he was innocent, said he was guilty, he would have gotten out sooner. But because he maintained his innocence, that's why he served the maximum. That's crazy. That is crazy, man. Could you imagine the mental anguish day by day, year by year of you sitting in prison, your life slipping away, dealing with everything that prison throws at you, knowing that you're innocent? Wow, that is crazy. But on Tuesday, after 35 years, the New York State Supreme Court vacated Ruiz's conviction and dismissed all charges against him based on DNA evidence, according to the Innocence Project, which has been working with the Bronx man for more than a decade. While Ruiz can't do all the moves he could do as a young man, news of his exoneration had him dancing. Sometimes when I feel really happy, I just do it. I don't care about my knees or anything. I just do a little break dance, Ruiz said. I lost 25 years of my life because I insisted upon my innocence and rejected plea bargains, he said. Today feels like a huge burden off my shoulders, and I look forward to living a good life moving forward. But God bless it, his best years are taken from him now. Where is he going to get a job? I guarantee you the compensation he gets from this isn't going to be worthwhile. A lot of states have caps. I don't know what New York's is, but you know what? A lot of states have ridiculous caps. Like if they falsely incarcerate you, it's like this ridiculous $10,000 is the maximum. It baffles me. His whole life is ruined. Now what? Now, what is New York State going to do for them to help him get on his feet? God, man, maintaining your innocence all these years. And because you maintain your innocence, that's one of the reasons that you served the maximum sentence. That's crazy, man. Ruiz was accused of being one of 3 men who sexually assaulted a woman on a Harlem rooftop in 1984. The victim said the name of the man who led her to the roof and went to an apartment to get the 2 other men was Ronnie. But when she was asked what apartment the men came out of, she pointed to Ruiz's brother's apartment. Ruiz agreed at the time to be questioned by police and photographed, without understanding how his photo would be used, according to the Innocence Project. The photo ended up in a lineup with 5 other men, all of whom had afros, even though the victim did not describe Ronnie as having an afro. The victim said Ruiz looked most like her attacker. Yeah, most like her attacker. But Evidence has shown that witness testimony is highly unreliable. I don't mean to make anybody angry, but witness testimony and studies have shown that witness testimony is just unreliable. It just is. There's studies where people show up and an action will happen, and then they go out 10 minutes later and they ask people, well, what did you witness? And you'll get 100 different versions. It's unreliable, especially when led by an individual who's a professional and knows how to do these sorts of things. Ruiz was initially offered a plea deal of 1.5 to 3 years, suggesting that prosecutors recognized the weakness of the evidence in this case, according to the Innocence Project. But he refused to take the deal because he would not plead guilty to a crime he insisted he had no part in. The trial penalty, yes. Ruiz's 25-year sentence is a perfect example of what is called the trial penalty, in which defendants face substantially longer sentences because they took their case to trial, the Innocence Project said. 18% of known innocent and exonerated people pled guilty, likely to avoid such a penalty. Wait, let me reread that. 18% of known innocent and exonerated people pleaded guilty, likely to avoid such a penalty. So they were facing 25 years, even though they were innocent and they were presented with something, hey, you can do 25 years, or you can plead guilty and you'll do 1.5 to 3 years. And innocent people in a mode of desperation and looking at 25 years, they plead guilty. It sucks. It really sucks. And it's not a perfect system, but it's what we have. It's what we have. All we can do is work within the system to try to change the system. That's the best way to do it. We don't use violence. We don't use threats. We don't use this and that. We use our words. We talk about it. And yes, does our justice system need work? Yes. But how do we do it? I don't know. There is no such thing as a perfect justice system. I mean, what do we do? What do we do? Well, one, we train police a little bit better and perhaps maybe have something with witness testimony, some sort of I don't even know. I don't know. There is no perfect answer. God, man, 25 years. And then another 10 years fighting it knowing you're innocent. Wow. Man, that is crazy. So while Ruiz was incarcerated, he and his family had asked for help from attorney William Tendy, who thought he would only spend a few hours on the case, but became convinced that Ruiz was innocent and ended up spending 3 years working on Ruiz's case in his spare time without pay. He discovered that a man with a history of violence against women who fit the victim's description of her assailant lived in the building where she was raped. That man's name was Ronnie, and he lived across the hall from Ruiz's brother. Again, witness testimony across the hall from Ruiz's brother. She probably didn't see the apartment they came out of, just kind of the appropriation. They came out of this area, and she had a 50-50. It's crazy. Oh, that's crazy. Tendy referred Ruiz's case to the Innocence Project, which, along with New York County District Attorney's Office Conviction Integrity Program, arranged for the victim's sexual assault kit to be tested. Okay, so wait a second. Let me get this straight. So this guy had... So there was a rape kit test sitting there for 25 years. This guy was proclaiming his innocence. I would have thought that that would have been one case where you would run over and be like, yeah, let's check this. Let's test this rape kit. Why? I understand the funding and the man hours and the manpower and things like that, and there's issues with it. I know. But in a case where a man is spending 25 years of his life in jail and he's saying that he's innocent, you would think that they would want to test it. God bless it. Every sample tested excluded Ruiz as a suspect, leading to his exoneration. We now know that police conducted an inadequate investigation marked by unduly suggestive identification procedures, which is common for the police. Seema Saifi, a senior staff attorney with the Innocence Project, said, "This led to the conviction of a young man with limited resources who bravely insisted he was innocent." Of the 367 wrongful convictions in the U.S. since overturned by DNA evidence, 69% involved mistaken eyewitness identification. like Ruiz's according to the Innocence Project. And it's just common. Eyewitness testimony is unreliable. It just is. Unless they are a professional trained in things like, paying attention to someone's shoes, because people will change their clothes, but they don't generally change their shoes, and other little things, and they're trained to take part in it. The average human being isn't a great witness. They just aren't. Wow. That is a crazy case. All right, I've ranted long enough on it. I appreciate your time, but give me your opinion, man. Give me your opinion. And if anybody believes they have the perfect solution for a justice system, let me know. God, that's horrible. 25 years. All right, well, I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you for your time.